Kenny, I believe I was coming out of my junior season in high school, going to become a senior. They changed coaching staffs at us at Camp McKinley. In comes an assistant coach. He was a wide receiver coach. Ends up being a head coach of a Camp McKinley program that we saw so many great things, and we're so happy to have him on our show joining us right now. Head coach of the Camp McKinley Bulldogs and other locations as well, Thom McDaniels joining us. Coach, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing fantastic. And, Coach, we obviously want to congratulate you going to be inducted into the inaugural induction ceremony of the National High School Football Hall of Fame. Coach, when you first found out about this event, how did it make you feel, and who reached out?
I actually heard from Antonio Hall, I was a little bit surprised, and that's because I didn't understand the whole concept, and I wasn't sure, how it was that I was chosen, because there's certainly guys in Ohio with more wins than I have, and there's a lot of people that are maybe more deserving than me, but I was flattered. I was overwhelmed. I actually met with Antonio in person to discuss whether or not this should actually happen. But I think it's probably got a little bit to do with me, and maybe a whole lot to do with Canton McKinley. It's one of the 10 winningest high school programs in the country. And they want the Hall of Fame to be here in Canton. That's what I understand, as part of the plan. So I pretty much assume that's got something, maybe a lot of more than something to do with my being inducted. But I'm okay with that.
This might have something to do with it as well, Coach. I'm reminded there is only 2 city schools who have won state titles in the state of Ohio during the playoff era. 2 city schools have won state championships. Kenny, let that sink in for a second. That means parochial owns the state for the most part.
Division I, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Coach. And for you to be able to accomplish that and be part of one of the most historic high school football programs in the entire state of Ohio, maybe you might be questioning it, but when JT and I saw your name on this list, we said he's deserving of it.
No-brainer.
For us, it was a no-brainer, and I always go back, Coach, to this, and I'll give you an example. Lynn Swann, right, is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If you go just by his numbers alone in the regular season, they don't stack up with a lot of Hall of Famers. But what he meant to that team, what he did in the postseason, that's what put him there. And I think that's somewhat of where you come into play. What you meant to Canton McKinley High School and other programs in the state of Ohio, and winning a state championship and a national championship, when you put all that together, Coach, there's no doubt in my mind you're deserving of this honor.
Well, thank you very much. I know, too, that, I was very, very fortunate to be at 2 tradition-rich and historic public school places. Canton McKinley and Warren Harding, had history and tradition and all that going for them. And I happened to be at the right place at the right time an awful lot in my life, but those 2 times in particular.
Coach.
Yeah, and Coach, we real quick, JT, we just talked with Steve Arnold at the 7-on-7. So your impact, not only on teams, but on players who are now assistant coaches or head coaches, that's another thing you can't really look at analytically or with numbers. And Steve Arnold has nothing but positive things to say about you and the impact you had on his life.
Well, he was a basketball coach and football coach at Warren prior to my arrival. He was on the basketball staff during my time there as an assistant, and then became the head basketball coach for a time. And then when the football opening occurred, and there have been many coaches since I left there, he applied, and he's doing a great job there. And Steve and I are close, and we meet a couple times a year to talk football and talk Warren, and we stay in touch with each other. And if he seeks my counsel, he's the guy that I'm very willing to tell him anything I know about anything I know. He's a great guy, and he's doing a great job.
Coach, I was at your induction ceremony for the Canton McKinley Football Hall of Fame. It was an outstanding event, and we had videos of both the boys, and it was just a special, and what a great honor. when you're surrounded by so many greats from our little community. Now you go into a National Football Hall of Fame, and it's not only is it a national thing, but it's going to be located, like you said, right here, and eventually probably its own freestanding building. I want to talk about longevity, because when we think about longevity, and a lot of us, myself anyway, when we start thinking about guys that are up for induction, maybe Clay Matthews comes to mind. In order to be somewhere and doing something a long time doesn't just give you the availability to be in a Hall of Fame. You have to do it and do it well. You did your job at the highest level, no matter what school you were at. How were you able to do it as long as you did?
Well, I had great mentors. I had two great high school coaches who had a tremendous impact on me, and it's because of Bill Schunkweiler and Mo Tipton that I wanted to coach in the first place. And then I worked for really good people. I worked for Mo Tipton in Oroville. I worked for Keith Wakefield in Mansfield. I worked for Terry Forbes at Canton McKinley. And so I had great guidance. You know, as a kid, I had great guidance as a young coach. And then once I became a head football coach, you know, I inherited, you know, the staff that already existed at Canton McKinley. And, you know, those guys were great assistant football coaches, but they were also great personal friends. I mean, we still vacation together. You know, this is, you know, 40 some years later that we're still close. We gather together every Thursday night. And then I just sort of took the blueprint that worked for me here at McKinley and applied it in Warren and got similar results. So, I'd say I got great mentorship, great guidance by people that I worked for and worked with. And then I worked real hard at it.
Happy to have with us Thom McDaniels. He will be part of the inaugural class for the National High School Football Hall of Fame. That ceremony taking place July 30th, 3 p.m., Umstattd Hall, McKinley High School. And you can go get your tickets right now if you want to. It's real simple. If you're looking for the website, it is simply nhsfootballhof.com. And you get all the information right there. And, Coach, how about some of the people you're going to be sharing this class with? Bernie Kosar is on this list. The Manning family, you know, the entire Manning family basically is on this list. Chris Spielman, who you know very well, Jim Brown, Marion Motley. There's some pretty impressive, I guess fellow classmates is the best way to say that you'll be sharing it with.
Yeah, well, and you're right. I've met Bernie. I actually sat beside him on a plane to one of the Super Bowls. I think it was one of the ones in Arizona that the Patriots won. But I was on a plane, and he was side by side, you know, seated with me because he was going to cover the events and so on and so forth, and had a great opportunity to talk with him, you know, during that plane ride. I don't know if you're aware of this, but he and Rick Worstell were the quarterbacks in the North-South game, you know, following Rick's state championship season in 1981, and Rick beat him out for the starting position in the North-South game in 1982. And I know you guys have a connection with Rick Worstell, but yeah, I know Bernie. Obviously, Chris is I've said this more than once, that he played the game better than anybody that I ever coached against. Now, I don't know whether that means he's the best player or not, but I never coached against anybody who played it better than Chris Spielman, and he's very deserving of any Hall of Fame that he enters.
Yeah, definitely a name that we expected to be on that list, especially with Ohio ties with this first class, a lot of those names and everything like that. You as a former coach, but you as a father too, how have you been able to separate coaching I guess reactions from father reactions when you're watching your boys, either when they played, Coach, or now when they're coaching and at the highest level, obviously, with Josh in Las Vegas?
But it was easier when I was coaching and they were playing for me, because at least I thought I was able to help them. Now, you know, I'm several times removed from the NFL game. When when I watch him coach now, I feel helpless because that's not my game. I was a high school football coach, and it's all football, but it's not the same game. I want to be able to help, but I'm not equipped to do that. So that's a big difference. But I was more comfortable coaching them as sons because I thought I at least could contribute to them and help in some way. I love watching them coach. I love going to practices. I love being as close to the NFL game as I am, and I never was afforded that opportunity before they were in the league. But I'm about as close to it as you can get, and it's awesome to be that close to it.
Thom McDaniels will be inducted into the National High School Football Hall of Fame this coming Sunday. Umstattd Performing Arts Hall. Tickets are available right now at nhsfootballhof.com. And, Tom, when we consider the way the game is being played today, and especially at the high school level, I talked to Worstel about this last week. He's lucky to throw the ball maybe 11 or 12 times again. And I'm probably being facetious, but, I mean, the way the passing game has changed, how does that differ from when you were roaming the sidelines?
Well, I think the game is the game has evolved an awful lot from when I started coaching high school football in 1972. Because back then everybody was very, very run oriented, and I can't even recite names of schools who threw the ball a whole lot back at that particular point in time in high school football. I mean, the teams that we played didn't do that, and the area teams, in Wayne County, Stark County, I don't know that many were doing it at that particular point in time. So the game has evolved, and we're almost on the other end of that spectrum now with people being in spread sets and throwing the ball as often and as willingly as they do now. But I'm going to tell you that the thing that I think I recognize about football today, they may be in spread sets and they may be in the shotgun, but the teams that run the ball well out of those sets and pass it, with some precision too, those are the teams that are winning the state championship. So specifically in Division I. I think you still have to be able to run the football. I think you need some kind of a blend, between pass and run. I think near the end of my time, in Camp McKinley and Warren Harding, we might have been 60 or 65% run and maybe 35 or 40% pass. I don't know what the numbers are. I have to look it up exactly, but I think the best teams, whether they're under center or in the gun, are the teams that can do both things really well when they want to. You can't just be successful on throwing the ball on 1st and 10 or 2nd and short. You got to be able to throw it when they know and expect you're going to be able to throw it. But I think you have to be able to run the ball too.
Very well said, and a well-deserved honor for Thom McDaniels. He'll be part of that inaugural class this Sunday, 3 o'clock. Again, if you'd like to be a part of it, by all means, you can get your tickets right now, like JT said, and you can, I guess you can go to the website and also read up on the entire 23-member class at NHS, I'll get this right, NHS Football HOF.com. That's NHSfootballHOF.com. Get your tickets so you can be a part of this 3 o'clock this Sunday. Coach, we always appreciate the time you make for us here on the Kenny and JT Show. Congratulations on the honor. We'll see you at the event on Sunday. I'll be there working it with Billy Beebe at WHBC, so we'll catch up again on Sunday then, all right?
I always appreciate the invitation to talk with you guys, and I appreciate what you do. Thanks for what you're doing for high school football.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. And you know what I loved the most about that entire interview?
What's that?
When he came on, he said, "Thanks, Jeff." Nobody calls you Jeff except Coach McDaniels. How about that?
There was 2 or 3 people. One was Jimmy Watson, may he rest in peace. The other was my father, may he rest in peace. And the other one is Thom McDaniels. Great guy.